What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. NxWorries, the duo of Anderson .Paak and producer Knxwledge have released their debut album titled Yes Lord. It's a catchphrase that Anderson has used a lot in his music, and you're going to hear it plenty on this album. Back in December, NxWorries put out their first project. It was a short EP, and I could say that at the time I really wasn't feeling it. I think it was because they remixed Drugs. At the time, Drugs was one of my favorite Anderson songs. So in them doing that, I was hoping that they would do something good with it. But unfortunately, it was very disappointing. And I think that might have left me jaded from wanting to really get into the EP a lot more. Not to mention, we were a couple weeks away from Malibu, and I think I was more looking forward to Malibu than I was focused on NxWorries. I'm glad that I didn't let my previous feelings towards the EP influence how I would listen to the album, because NxWorries is an amazing duo, and their album to me is just very stellar. There's a lot about the album that's unique, but one of the things that stands out is the structure. You have 19 songs, a total of 49 minutes, which means that a lot of these songs clock in under 3 minutes. And I think that's both good and bad. It's good because you have a fast-paced feel to it. Like, you're listening to the album and you're never going to feel bored. And while this might seem like it's the perfect formula, there is some bad that comes with it. And I feel like a lot of these songs don't come off as complete. You have an album that's very reliant on melodies as opposed to Malibu. I think that's the main difference between the two, is that Malibu is more focused on like a complete body of work, but here NxWorries, it kind of seems like Anderson was going for a lot more melodies. You have a record like Cutlass, and it sounds more like an interlude than anything, because it's really just one long hook. And it sounds good, don't get me wrong at all. It sounds great. It's one of my favorite beats on the album, and the hook has been stuck in my head, but it just doesn't feel like it's a complete idea. Knxwledge is a phenomenal producer. It's crazy how small his production catalog is. He's put out a lot of instrumental albums on his own, but in terms of who he's produced for, you have Joey Badass, Kendrick Lamar, and then a few others in addition to Anderson. And I think NxWorries is hopefully going to open up the door for Knxwledge to really get out there, because a lot of the production on Yes Lord is very soulful, and I just love it so much. I love it because it stands out and it doesn't sound anything like Malibu. I think that's another reason why. Anderson is really one of the few artists that I feel can put out an album like Malibu and turn around and crank out this NxWorries project. The beginning of the album was kind of slow to me. You have Living and Wings, and while they're both good songs, they don't really have strong melodies, and I think that's what the rest of the album is all about. So you want to draw a listener in, but I feel like Living and Wings don't really do that for me. I'm going to listen because I'm an Anderson fan, but I think if somebody were to stumble upon this album and this was their first instance, they might not be too blown away by it. It all goes back to that age-old idea that you start strong and you end strong. And unfortunately, as good as this album is, he doesn't end on a strong note either. You have the outro, which is titled Fuck You. It's very disappointing. The whole skit of it in the beginning, it just feels so unnecessary. Like, what is the purpose? And then Anderson's vocals don't really, I've listened to the album like 15 times, and I'm trying to think what was said in the outro. So that tells you everything that you need to know. It wasn't very memorable in the grand scheme of the rest of the album. At other times throughout the album, his verses are very vivid. He has a record called Get Bigger, and it explores like his life story from the time that he left home at 17 up into dealing with women in the industry because he's made it. Like that's his his sign that he's made it, is being able to deal with these women and write about them and whatnot. And then you have a record like This. It's one passionate sex session rolled up into a 2.5 minute song. Overall, NxWorries Yes Lord is a really good album, but I would say that it's not better than Malibu, and I don't think it ever will be. I think just because I've been able to sit with Malibu for 10 months now, it already has the edge. But just when I compare the two and think about it, I'm going to like Malibu a lot more, which is not to say that you shouldn't enjoy No Worries, because you definitely can. Anderson .Paak continues to have his breakout year, so I'm hoping in 2017 is when he really is able to break through to the mainstream. I think Dr. Dre and Aftermath need to put in that money so he can have a hit single, because he has it. He has that it factor that goes into being a mainstream star, and I think in time he'll be there. But I'm hoping that 2017 we get to see him continue to be elevated. So those are my thoughts on No Worries debut album. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, and then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at @SermonsDomain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.